Listener communications. You are listening to Brothers of the Serpent podcast.
How do we do this?
I forgot.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, angels and demons and monsters and serpents. This is Brothers of the Serpent podcast coming to you live from the 10x10x10 Tangent Cube of Science, where we are nestled amongst the dusty bones of an ancient seabed high atop the Edwards Plateau, covered in wine. It's wine stains everywhere. So we had a huge harvest. It was amazing. I got sick. And then Kyle got sick at the end of it.
Yep.
But we're on the back end of it. There's still some harvest stuff to do. We'll talk about that. But yeah, we got some videos to show you guys of the harvest process.
Whoops.
Oh, end of show.
Forgot I was supposed to mute it myself.
That was a great show. I think that was a great show.
Show over.
This is easy. Took a break for a while, and then it was like, oh, this is the fastest 2 hours of podcasting.
So yeah, there were a lot of 12 and 14-hour days, especially for Kyle. In some cases, we were staying away from home because the facilities we were using, we had so much grapes from the harvest that our facilities at the vineyard couldn't handle it. I mean, not even close.
No.
There's no way. So we had to use other places, other wineries. We basically were renting in it's custom crush.
One of the places is we were doing essentially a custom crush operation, which we pay them, and they basically do it. They crush the grapes. They put them in their tank. They do it however we want it done, but they do all the work. The other place is a lease. So we're actually leasing the winery.
Okay.
We do all the work.
Yeah.
So get the hands dirty, and it's good. It's a good experience, and they've got all the tools we need, bigger and better tools than ours. So it's that place is a long way away. It's an hour away from where we work, and where we work is already like 45 minutes away from here. So
yeah,
there were a couple of nights that when you were sick, like we actually just stayed at that winery because they got an Airbnb there.
Yeah.
And the kids and I came up and stayed at the vineyard for like a week so we could see you.
Yeah. I mean, I literally just got home past couple of days. Like I have been
gone for
I've stayed at home like once, one night.
Yeah.
Since the beginning of August.
Yeah.
So it's been crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're going to get into that now, go into the details now, or what else?
Yeah. I mean, we've started. Let's
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
go into it. I'm sure everybody wants to know.
So
it's a big time of year.
Except for that one guy.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not listening to this podcast to hear about your wine.
Well, too bad.
yeah, it's so leading up to harvest, we're measuring the grapes, their sugar content, their acid content, and the pH, and looking at trends. And you can see as the sugar is building, the acids are going down and the pH is going up. And if once it gets like too hot, they really struggle to continue to ripen. They struggle to continue to build sugars. So you can see that. You can see that it sort of drops off. Or sometimes they'll just like ripen. It'll accelerate for some reason. And one day they're not quite ready, or maybe they still have a ways to go. You think, looking at the past trends, you're like, well, I could probably go 3 or 4 more days. And then the next day you test it and you're like, oh my God, it's ready. It's got to come off. So we were tracking multiple different types of grapes, multiple different blocks of even the same grape. There's younger vines, there's older vines. So there's all these different speeds at which the grapes are ripening. And it was like, it looks like we'll be able to just kind of, pick these first, and then a little bit later we can pick those. And then right near the end, they were all just converging. All the numbers were becoming the same. And I was like, they're all ready.
Yeah, we have to do it all next week. Go. Yeah.
So we can't possibly do it all in one night. They could harvest maybe. We had a hand harvesting crew, Raul and his family, awesome people that they're full time at the vineyard, and they did it all with the help of some additional people they hired to come. And they would pick all night And then we'd get up in the morning and go out there, and the harvest bins would be stacked up, and then we would load them on the truck, before daylight start, and try to haul them to the winery, which was an hour away before it got hot.
It's really a thing to see, guys. I got a front row seat.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's really cool. You want to show some of the videos?
So yeah, I'll get there. So actually, I have some pictures of these harvest bins.
And people are asking, it's Turtle Creek Vineyard.
Yeah,
but
Turtle Creek Olives and Vines is the name of the tasting room.
Yeah, so if you want to order some, if you're in the United States, in most of the states, not every state, some states have laws that don't allow us to ship there. But I will post the website in the chat if once I can pull it up here.
So we got 32 tons of grapes off the vineyard. It was a little less than 11 acres. And this is what they look like. They were beautiful. This is the hillside vineyard. It's called Tanat is the type of grape. And I think this day, let's see how many we had here. Why won't it let me? It's not letting me change pictures. Well, I don't know what I'm doing, folks.
Did we have certain things set aside that we already chose, and then you chose to jump to something that we didn't already have picked out live on the show? Is that what just happened?
You can't change pictures inside the inside of OBS.
It seems like this thing is just frozen.
Oh.
Thanks, Neo Hippie.
Yeah, because I can't do anything with the program right now.
Oh.
Don't know what happened. Anyway,
classic technical difficulties there.
I gotta quit that. So yeah, we had a lot of grapes, and we would haul them to the winery, and then in some cases we would immediately start crushing and destemming them, which one machine does both. So you have to load these bins up and with the forklift, get them on an apparatus that will dump them into the crusher destemmer. And out the other end, you're pumping that, which is called the must, into a big vat where you're going to do the fermentation. And we basically filled the floor of this winery with these vats. And, you after that, you measure, you're trying to balance the pH and the acid in the must. And sugar, you could add sugar, or you could add water if they're really high sugar. You could add acid if the pH is too high, and then you add the yeast and get the process going. And then these, I don't know, like all these fermentations, we were doing this day after day for 8 days or something. I'm not sure how many days it was. A lot of days it seemed like. And then they all pretty much finished at the same time. Even though we picked them one day after the other, I was thinking well, these will be done, you know, and then these will be done. And then they just kept going.
Yeah.
I think they were going for 14 days in some cases, still fermenting.
Do you think that's because we added that nutrient?
I don't know. I think this winery we were in is actually pretty cold.
That's true.
Compared to some places. I mean, it keeps those chillers were keeping that place cold. They were keeping the fermentations cool, which actually is really nice good, because you don't burn off so many of the fruity aromas of the grape and everything in the finished wine. They'll be present. So far as we can tell, now, once they finish, then we run them through the press, which I have some videos of that if I can get my program to work. I don't know why.
Is it still frozen? You can't close it? Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here.
Maybe you should have given the old studio computer a reboot.
Let's see. Yeah, I probably should have.
We do try to prepare before the show.
We do.
I always try to prepare before the show, but I'm
Even
never ready.
We need a checklist. Reboot everything is the first thing.
Well, I did. I mean, I booted up the computer when I got in here.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's fine.
Okay, let me see if I can do this again. So then we press the grapes. Now, the people always ask about the foot stomping.
This is a good question. Yeah, okay, you're getting there. What happens?
Well, I haven't even read the comments, but everybody asks about it, so I'm just going to say foot stomping is what the crusher destemmer does, right? The foot stomping in the old days would be right after you pick the grapes, you throw them in this big vat, and the ladies get in there and do the whole ceremonial dance and foot stomp, crush all the grapes, which, we'll be expecting next year from you.
That's fine. I can do that.
And you got a party.
Unless it
You got a
tickles.
party all night, and you need a lot of ladies to crush all these grapes.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is.
But I want to know if it tickles. 'cause
It feels
that's gonna
good.
be-
It's
It
cold.
feels good.
All right.
yeah.
If it's like a foot massage, if it's like reflexology, then I'm in.
So the process of pressing the grapes is different. Now that doesn't, back in the old days, they'd have these giant things with, big, they're made out of lumber and they've got these big wheels with turning a screw and, these canvas pads, and you're like dumping the grapes in there, put a pad in, dump more grapes, put a pad in. They have a big basket made of oak staves or something. And then you're up there
Yeah.
just like smashing it down and collecting the liquid out. This is now essentially the finished wine. I mean, it's not totally finished, but it's gone through primary fermentation. It's converted all the sugars into alcohol. So that's what's coming out. Now it'll still go through other processes later. But this is essentially when you begin the aging, you're pressing it off the grapes. And I do have some videos of this. Let's see here. I'll show you. Let's see if I can show. So this is during primary fermentation. These top ones here. This is Sol. Can I get it to work? There we go. And he's this is a punch down. So it's fermenting. All the grape skins are like floating in the top, and you're pushing them down into the wine. And that helps to get the wine to draw color out.
That's a tough job.
Yeah, it is.
The pressing down like
It's
that.
hard.
In
to
some
push it.
cases,
It's hard to push it. The cap is real thick. All the crushed grapes float to the top, and they form this hard cap that can be a foot or two thick. And it's tough to press it down. And then it's just like, and then the whole time you're doing it, there's massive amounts of CO2 coming up out of the fermentation process, so you can't breathe.
Oh.
You can't ever get enough oxygen, so you get out of breath almost instantly.
Sol fell in.
And it's yeah.
Nike wine.
Reebok.
Oh,
Babe,
it's Reebok, okay.
And snakes. Jeez.
I didn't know what kind
Reebok snakes, everybody.
of. So yeah, it is really hard to punch down, and especially when the fermentation first begins, like when it's going really rapidly.
Yeah.
I mean, the bubbles, the CO2 being produced in the wine is floating all of this stuff, and it gets compacted on top. And one of them, I stood on it. Like I put that little plate that I was holding on there and just stood on it, and it didn't go down.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really tough sometimes.
You walked on the cab.
Yeah,
in
that's
your,
what I'm talking
in your
about.
boots. You just stepped out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
wow.
You have to. I had to dig a hole.
Yeah.
in the cab.
Now with the cab, it was interesting because when we picked it, there were a lot of raisins,
Okay.
right? So there's always some raisins.
Yeah.
Some of the grapes kind of shrivel up. They haven't gone bad. They just lost a lot of their juice.
Mm-hmm.
You still put them in the wine because they have all the sugars, and in some cases, it's interesting because. Like we were talking to the winemaker that's out there at this place, and he says that the more raisins you have, the longer it takes because the acids have to get into work on them for them to release their sugars,
yeah.
right? So they can prolong the process. But the other problem is when you're crushing and destemming the grapes, instead of like a liquid that's full of grape skins, you end up getting a bunch of grape skins with some liquid, right? It's the other way around.
Yeah.
So you have this big pile of skins and not nearly as much liquid as you normally would have. So the cab bin, when it was fermenting, had a lot thicker of a cap, and you could basically walk on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Walking
see
on
if I
grape
got-
skins.
I probably have.
Wine Jesus.
Why is this program? This program is acting so weird. All right, I'm not going to try to do anything because I'll probably mess it up.
So people are asking again how much it was. What did you say it was? 30 tons?
32 tons roughly.
Was it? Could you say it was maybe 33 tons?
That was probably 33 tons actually. Yeah, that's true.
33 tons.
It was.
Can you remember what last year's number was?
I think we had like 5.
Yeah.
Wow,
or 6.
that's a huge difference.
The most we ever had was 10.
10, which was the year before last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
what
were like,
caused
wow.
the drop?
The big
so
drought last year.
Okay.
drought
Yeah.
last year, and also there's this particular time in the season when the flowers are forming, and
That's right.
and they're fertilizing. You know, they're cross pollinating, and we had such high winds during that period that you had something called shatter, which forms when each flower would form a berry right behind that flower. That's where
Yeah, so think of a standard grape cluster, but turn it into this small thing covered in a bunch of tiny flowers. I mean, they're tiny.
Okay.
And the idea is the wind moves them a little bit and they cross-pollinate each other.
Okay.
But it was so strong that it just blew the pollen away on half. So we had clusters that only had a few grapes,
Okay.
right? Instead of being full.
I see.
So we didn't get we got half the tonnage we got from the year before.
Speaking of drought, we do need to at some point on this show get around to we finally got rain story and then the lightning strike.
Yeah, we could tell that story too. Yeah. Yep. It was lucky I decided to come home that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, you want to see some more of these?
So yeah, I was just going to say that after this process we had to come in and do those punch downs 3 times a day once it gets really active, and then as it starts to chill out, it's starting to get over the hump in a sense of the fermentation. It starts to slow down. So then we were doing punch downs twice a day, and then we were doing once a day, and then like right before we were pressing, I would kind of go in there and dig into the cap and kind of look at them and just be like, you know what, let's not even punch down today because we're probably going to be pressing tomorrow. Just trying to, you want them to be on those skins, the red wines to be on those skins as much as possible. And so we were kind of doing something called extended maceration, which is essentially when we measured, it was done. Like there wasn't any more sugar, but it was still forming a cap because of the carbon dioxide that was dissolved in. So it's like, well, let's let it, we'd punch it down once and then just let it go another day. So it gets more time on those skins, draws out more color, gets more tannins, gets more, a lot of things. And so after that, then we have to press. And so I'll show you some of the videos of this. I don't know if I want to play all these, but this is one thing you have to do. We're fermenting in these giant bins, and you have to get in to shovel that out. So we can pump out a bunch, but at some point, you have to do this.
It's just an honest day's work, people. That's all it is.
Yeah, Carl and Corey are awesome. This is another video of this process. So this is the press. I'm just going to mute this. This is the press here in the that he's dumping it into, and it's just basically a big screen sitting on a plate. And then once it's full of grapes, it's got this big rubber bladder in there. It's like a vertical column, and you can inflate it with air. So we put this lid on top and inflate it, and it just smashes the grapes up against that screen. You get all the juice out of them. So this is what we were doing for days because we had, he spilled those grapes. Did you see that? God dang it, Johns.
Nice going, Johnson.
So there's a lot of free run here. It's just running out into this bin, which we have covered. We're doing this outside, just trying to keep flies and other things off the wine. And then it's going through a pump. It goes inside into a tank, and then we chill it. And all that sludge you see on there is called lees. That's the when the yeast dies, it falls, and there's also lots of grape particles and stuff that settle into the bottom of the tank. And it's got flavor. So you press it all. You press everything, including the bugs from the vineyard that come in.
That's right.
Somebody wants to know what tannins means. They don't drink wine. They only drink beer.
There's tannins in beer. I mean, tannins are.
I rock backwards. I'm a beer.
I'm
dude.
not like I don't
Let
know
me,
everything about this, but they're in
me-
plant. Like plants produce these things.
I'll
They're
consult the
bitter.
article.
Like if you've ever eaten like a acorn or something or coffee, right? It has lots of tannins. It's got this really bitter flavor. Tea has tannins, and these tannins are a quality in a drink. You know, they also protect it from oxidation. They can protect it from lots of things. So the more tannic it is, the harder it is to spoil.
Here we go. Oxford Dictionary. Tannin. A yellowish or brownish, bitter-tasting organic substance present in some galls, barks, and other plant tissues consisting of derivatives of gallic acid used in leather production and ink manufacture.
Tannin, to tan a hide. They're used to tan
Yeah.
the hide. Let's see. I'll show you this. So these are the tanks. Should I play the audio from this?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just there's lots of machine noise and stuff. I don't actually know that audio is coming through. And the audio shouldn't be even coming through, I don't think so.
Oh, is it not? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just showing you this is where we're working back. Here, that was the crusher destemmer to the left. I didn't really look at it.
Oh, Johnson's got a phone call going on over there.
Oh, yeah.
Serious business. Serious wine business.
What's up, dude? So this is the very end of a press cycle, and we're literally just sitting there for an hour trying to get, like, once you get it full, it's kind of like you get to chill a little bit because you're pressing, releasing, pumping it out of the vat. And I mean, you could literally let it sit there. Once you get up to like 2 bar or whatever your target is, you could let it sit there for hours and it would just drain and drizzle like that. So we kind of clocked it and just, we'd do it for maybe an hour. Because after it's just diminishing returns at that point.
Yeah.
And is it really worth it for us to sit around for hours and let this just add a few more gallons of wine? No.
You already put so many hours in. You were doing like 70-hour work weeks or
Yeah.
something. It's crazy.
Yep. Let's see what else we got here. So yeah, these are the valves. You let air in, you let air out, and you know you can just tell on the gauge like how much pressure you're putting in. So I'm putting air back into it, and you can kind of see how it starts bubbling. You can see some air coming out every time you let off, and then push again. It'll get more fluid out of it than if you'd have just left it compressed.
Oh, okay.
It's like to release it, it kind of like pulls little air pockets and new pathways.
Okay.
So here it comes. It's coming out now. Yep. So we like do this for an hour. But it's still not very much at this point.
it's
At
not
this
a whole
stage,
lot.
that's just kind of what it looks like. And this is the pomace. This is what we get out of the press after it's done. And it's pretty dry. I mean, it doesn't get your hand wet. That's all the grape
Okay.
skins and seeds. And then we just haul it way out there in the tractor and dump it for the deer.
And they can get nice and drunk
That's right.
because it's got alcohol in it for sure.
And of course, you gotta drink some Coors Lights while you're making wine. So yeah, that's what we've been doing. Here's a good little. So this is the free run. When you first start pumping out a bin, like we're actually using a pump to draw the fluid out of that fermentation tank. And it's got about that big tank over there, the plastic bin, has about 200 gallons of fluid in it. Each one. So the first part when you're pumping this out is you're just getting so much wine out of it.
Yeah.
And that's just running freely. The lid's off. And we're trying to move as many grapes as we can into it using the pump, but the pump it's not really a must pump. It's not designed to move grapes. And at this winery, we have to do it manually. Like some places have these rotator forks on the forklift, and they got these big hoppers with augers, and you just dump the whole thing into that, and it'll just auger the grapes in to a big automated press. So, I mean, you can get really advanced equipment to do this job that we are all doing ourselves. But it is nice to, just kind of get your hands dirty. I feel like, I think it's valuable experience.
Yes, the grape juice before it's fermented tastes great. It's sweet.
Oh yeah.
It tastes really good. Another question that I was seeing is, can you use that for compost?
Oh yeah. Yes. It's very acidic though, which can be good for some plants. But yeah, you can compost it.
The skins after fermentation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of part of. There's a lot of different methods for getting rid of this stuff because you can imagine some of these wineries that are doing 200, 400, 600 tons a year. They have massive
amount,
piles of this stuff. And there was one case where there was a company that this guy started up to deal with all the pomace from wineries. He was like, yeah, I'll come haul it off for you. And so he would charge a fee to go there, load all their stuff into dump trucks and haul it off their property. So they're paying this guy. Well, it turns out he was just taking it out to some place and dumping these huge piles and then burying them in dirt, which is a really bad idea because they get down there buried in dirt and they start going through decomposition and they get extremely hot.
Yeah.
I think in some cases they were measuring like 500 degrees and
So-
more, 500 to 700 degrees, and they're essentially burning underground.
And there's alcohol fumes. That's great.
And people,
Oh,
some
no.
people were walking on the property and didn't know,
Oh.
and like because it's consuming the mass of the material in the decomposition, it made pits and voids underground, and a person like fell through the dirt that was on the top and got severely burned.
Oh my
Yeah.
god!
So this is not. You don't want to just go bury huge piles of this stuff because it's got a lot of decomposition to do. But there are methods of dealing with it and composting it and turning it over and all that. So people do it.
So all the money that guy made, then he lost because somebody.
I don't know
sued
what
him.
happened to him. Yeah, I think he got fined probably
Probably
pretty bad.
deal
Hopefully
on
he went to
that.
jail. That's pretty
Damn.
bad.
But he's probably just like, yeah, I'll just go bury it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he didn't know.
Yeah, it's not a good.
Dang.
Anyways, that was a bad story.
Great story, bro. Thanks.
So I ruined the mood there. Everyone lived happily ever after, I think.
But now your busy season is basically over. Is the point?
Kind of back to normal.
Yeah.
There's a couple of other. So once we press, it all goes into tank, and it's kind of milky. It still has like a lot of particles suspended in it, and you chill it down once it's in these big refrigerated tanks, and all of the grape particles settle to the bottom, and you let it do that for 3 or 4 days or 5 days or however long you want, and then you siphon it off the top into barrels, the reds. So that's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
We've got a few more tanks to do that with. Not that much. It's like, I don't know, 300 gallons, maybe something like that left to do to get in barrel. And then of course we have more at this other winery. We have 1,600 gallons settling at another winery right now. So, not going to have to do 70 to 80 hour weeks at this point.
So podcasting is back on, everybody.
Yeah, I think we're back.
Is that it for the ag update?
Yeah, still dry. Barely got any rain. But
We did get
it's hot.
a little bit of rain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Can I push the button?
Yeah.
Yeah, dang it.
Yeah. Let's hear about the rain when
Yeah,
it
so I-
finally came.
I've started another labeling project. But then Kyle called me and said, "Hey, I need you back out at the winery tomorrow because we were starting to put stuff in barrels, and I had to disinfect all the barrels, which requires steaming. It takes a long time. So we had another. I mean, I didn't leave until what 8:30, something like that that night.
That was a long day.
Yeah.
Might have been a little ambitious to try to do all that in one day.
Yeah. We got it done though. But yeah, so at the end of the day, it was getting dark, and I still had basically an hour and 45-minute drive home. And Kyle was saying, "Well, we're just going to stay in the house right here." And I was like, "Well,"
he's like, "I don't know. I didn't have clothes.
I was covered. I was covered in stuff. I need to take a shower. I'm soaked. I'm like dirty. Don't even have a toothbrush." Which is okay for one night, but you don't want to go back to work with all that. So anyway, I was like, well, I'll go ahead and go home. So I drove home that night, and we had gotten a little bit of rain that day. And I'm coming up the driveway. I'm getting home, and I'm off the main road, and I'm just driving up the dirt driveway. And I get on the second hill, and I'm coming up, and I see it's dark, and I see this massive, what looks like an Olympic torch way up in the air above the tree line against the night sky, and I'm like, what the hell is that? There's not supposed to be anything there. And there's a fire up in the air right there. So I realized, because of where I was like, that's a telephone pole. The top of one of our power poles that's going up to the house up there in the back is on fire on the top.
This is like classic Russ. He's like, no, I really need to go home so I can take a shower instead of staying, and so then he drives home and the power's out and there's a telephone pole on fire.
I get to the main, that's right. I got
Can't take a shower.
I already figured out the power was out because I got to the main gate and the gate doesn't open. And then I realized none of the lights are on for the entrance. And I'm like, oh my God. So I have to get out, get the tools, open up the compartment to get the gate open. And then I'm driving down there and I see a freaking fire up in the sky. And so I get up to the top and I go in the main house, and Mom and Dad are in there with Soul. They're playing card games with the candles on. I'm like, you guys, there's a fire on top of one of the power poles down in the woods. And of course, Stash is like, what? And they don't know whether to believe me or not. It sounds kind of weird, but Stash and I got in the Jeep. We drove down, and sure enough, we get out right there at the driveway. The top of the power pole's burning. You can smell it. So we had to call the fire department and the power company, and
it's like we had gone long without rain.
I know, and I'm like, be careful, because it's burning up there, and we got all these lines, and if they start falling, but of course the power was out. Anyway, it was an exciting night. So
yeah, the power went out about 9 p.m. and I'm here with just Lila because Soul's doing a sleepover up there, and power goes out. I text him, is y'all's power out? Yeah, our power's out. All right, well, I guess we'll just, first rain after a drought. Maybe something crazy went down. I don't know. And then in the morning, I wake up to Mom's message and like a video of a fire. And, like, Russ came home and 911 and da-da-da. I was like, holy cow.
I got a text from Kelsey and it freaked me out. She's like, I just saw lights and sirens all going past their house.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. Like, what?
Yeah.
Why are emergency vehicles hauling ass up to the top?
I didn't know this part.
Yeah.
And so, that I was just like, whoa. And then it was like, nope, there's a power pole on fire. I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God.
So, we've had some excitement.
And those things, they do work like torches because they're covered in that creosote.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, it was burning for like over an hour.
Yeah.
It just, like a torch.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And one of the lines did fall. It didn't come all the way down, but the line that was attached all the way at the top, it must have broken whatever was holding it there, and eventually it dropped,
So did they repair it when they were out there? Okay.
Yeah. But Stash, he's out there moving some stuff with one of the machines to make we had to make a path for the power trucks to be able to get down to where the power pole was.
One of the machines was up there.
Yeah.
Because both machines had just been down here recently.
Yeah, the backhoe was up there.
Yeah.
So he's like, can you come down there with lights? I got to move a pile of dirt with the backhoe. So we're moving it. And then he's like, one of the power lines is crossed with the other one. That's what started the fire. And I looked at it. I'm like, no, it fell because the top of the power pole is on fire. But anyway, it was exciting. And yes, if the power hadn't have been out at that point, it would have been more exciting. Probably. But it was, the power went out first, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't
We
think I got
didn't do
any
this,
videos.
so I have no idea how long we've been in here.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, look at there. It's time for a break.
Yeah, it is.
We'll set
She's
this
right.
next time.
Oh yeah, way over
Hey,
time
we're
for a
rusty.
break.
It's been a while.
Well,
guys. Give
that's-
us a minute.
Hey, it's been a while, folks. I mean,
Yeah, we got stories and emails and
yeah.
Yeah.
space for the news all coming up next. We'll be right back.
Yeah. Snakes!
Snakes!
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Brothers of the Serpent podcast returns with a listener communications live stream. And we do have some one-up boxes. We do have some news stories. As we said before, it's not all like, hey, guess what we've been doing while we haven't been podcasting?
We also have some donations.
Oh, we do. Let me go check that.
Go up. Yeah.
How far up? How far
I'll tell
up?
you the first one that I saw. That's the first one I saw.
Sam Frabo Fox, €2 maybe? What is it? Or lira?
Yeah.
I don't know.
How you doing, Sam? Hope
Looks
you feel
amazing,
it.
guys. Well done. Sorry about illness. Yes. I am feeling a little bit under the weather, but definitely good enough to go to work, which I did, and podcast also. But yeah, it was good that we postponed it yesterday because, like you said, Russ, yesterday evening I was like, oh,
Yeah.
went to bed early, got some good sleep, feel better today. Thank you very much for that. And next we have
Right there.
DC Rogers, $5. Thank you
you.
so much. And
thank you.
Troy, or AKA Solid Luigi from the Discord, $25.92. Here's a processional super chat for all the hard work and welcome back. Snakes!
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, bro. Troy has actually been working on some pretty kick-ass Dynasty t-shirts also.
I know what it's like to have Troy working on something
Dude,
in
Troy,
secret.
you are solid,
You are solid.
Luigi.
He is a solid
He
Luigi.
is one solid Luigi. Thanks so much, buddy.
So, let's see if I can get this up at the camera. So, Anne Who
people-
Knits is great.
PayPal, PayPal.
She, we love you, Anne, but
Anne.
she's definitely trolling us. Look,
Classic, yes.
I'll just show you.
Get him.
This is the handwriting on the envelope. See how beautiful that is?
It's so
Oh, yeah.
easy to read.
And this is the handwriting in the letter.
That's beautiful, too.
No,
But it's harder to read.
no. Anyway, I'm sure it says a bunch of awesome stuff. Thank you, Anne.
He's not even going to try, Ann.
Was there something in it?
No, it's just a letter. Three pages of handwritten
you
cursive
sure?
and marker.
I can't remember. It's
Laura,
been sitting
see,
in
okay,
it.
this is the thing, Ann.
Here's the problem.
Laura opened these one-up boxes a long time ago.
Before all this shit hit the fan.
Yeah, so she's now forgotten if there was something in there.
Just 3 handwritten pages in
might
marker.
Well,
Send
let's
us
take
a
a rain
check.
check on that one. Let's take a rain. I'm gonna.
She
dig
has been
deeper
known
on-
to send checks.
rain check.
So,
Next.
Bruce Silva, $20. Beer money for episode 300. Hey, the beer episode.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Bruce, tell your wife I said hello.
No, you said.
Hey, girl.
All right. I really want to get to these one-up boxes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so our good buddy and traveling companion and geologist
Small brain geologist.
sent us gigantic beers.
Yes. Gigantic.
Do you have a regular sized beer to put next to that to show everyone?
No, I have another large beer to put next to it. This is
Okay.
actually a large beer. This is a 16 ounce.
Look at that, people.
I mean, I want to be like Homer Simpson, you know? It's pretty big, I guess. So, this is the Upper Jurassic, 200 million years in the making beer. This Steinbier is infused with petrified wood from trees that were alive during the Upper Jurassic epoch when dinosaurs walked the earth and pterosaurs flew in the skies.
Yeah.
Ask your doctor if this beer is right for you. May cause stupidity, inability to judge beauty, overwhelming love for your idiot pals, flatulence or what you thought was going to be flatulence, and the desire to drink more beer. Not recommended for clowns. Dude, Chuck, did I say Chuck? Oh, I know.
No, you haven't said it. You just now said it for the first time.
Chuck, this is awesome, dude.
We love you, man.
Chuck made us some beers, and we are about to drink them.
Are they cold?
It is cold. I was trying to make sure.
So this is the
I
other thing.
remembered to put that beer in the fridge.
This is the other thing that came in Chuck's package. This is great because this is Chuck also trolling us. A while back, I asked him to send me something written up. He was giving me an explanation. I was like, "Can you write that up for me so I can read it on the show?" And he said, "Sure." And then he sends me a PDF, and I'm like, "Bro, like a PDF, really?" And he's like, "What do you want? Like a freaking clay tablet?" So with the beers, he sent us explanations of the beers in Sumerian on clay tablets.
I bet you we could actually translate those. Knowing Chuck, he probably did his homework.
How do we even know which way is up?
Or they could be receipts, or they might just say, "You guys are idiots." That probably is what it says.
Yeah, it might be the equivalent of a Sumerian middle finger.
Yeah.
How do you know which way's up? That's the other thing.
Look at this beautiful beer, folks. I mean,
Oh, yeah, it looks great.
that is a pretty nice job on the tablets as well.
Yeah.
Chuck
I wonder if he
really
made
knocked
these
it out of the ballpark with this one, buddy.
himself.
I think he did.
Yeah. Oh, he can make all
So
sorts of
he
stuff.
got himself a classic like stylus to make the Sumerian cuneiform
Chuck
mark.
Probably
is very
made the
creative.
stylus.
Yeah,
I
I
learned
bet he
this
made
about
it.
him
This is
at
awesome.
So
summer.
Yeah.
I bet this. I'm just gonna assume that this clay he uses to, form around stones so he can hold them. Like he was talking about.
Yeah.
How he holds the stones that he works on and cuts and stuff.
I'm gonna have to ask him what it says. There's no way to use Google Translate on this. Maybe I could take a picture and get Google to translate it. I don't know. But yeah, it probably just says you guys are fucking idiots. Enjoy the beer.
Thanks, Chuck.
Are we gonna cheers to
They're
this?
also different. So one is not the same as the other one. So one of these might be yours and the other ones might be mine. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This one is a math equation for Kyle because it's got lines that separate.
He
Yeah,
always
he's
has.
separating sentences, right?
No, this is the bigger one. This was for you. That one has more words. He's
This
probably
is
not
like
saying.
a proverbs and this is like a math equation.
All right. We're gonna
Cheers.
try this Jurassic beer.
Cheers to Chuck.
Cheers.
Chuck. Cheers to all of you.
Thank you, buddy.
That
Yep.
is good.
That's good.
5.6%, folks. Be careful.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's good.
It is really good. Tasty.
Look at him. There he is in the chat. Yes, I made them.
Now, I chose mine, and I'm going to translate it.
Yeah, we're gonna figure out how to get them translated.
Think I
Thanks,
can't
Chuck.
translate this shit, Chuck? Come on, bro. Who you talking to? Have you translated the album yet? Oh, wait, you haven't bought one.
Oh.
Oh, he's saying okay. So he's asking who has which one. I have the slightly larger one with more words on it.
No
Wait, maybe
lines
he did buy
separating. Kyle has the ones that has lines separating
Yeah.
Yeah.
sections of the text. Which way's up, Chuck?
Viking Gaming, $2. Hello, Snake Fams. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hi.
Hello.
All right, shall we?
Shall we what? Oh yes.
Oh, yes.
Space Weather News. Let's switch from olives and vines. Okay. Spaceweather.com. M is for mystery. Earth orbiting satellites have just detected an M1 class solar flare on August 26th. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory observed a spray of debris emerging from the sun's western limb. The source of the flare is hidden behind the sun's western limb. In short, it is a mystery. Neither NASA's Perseverance Mars rover, which has a direct view of the area, nor the helioseismic echoes of the sun's far side indicate a sunspot at that location. But soon we will find out. The sun's rotation will turn the blast site towards us in a few days. Also, Citizen scientists watching Soho's coronagraph feed on August 21st weren't sure what they had just seen. A point-like object emerged from the glare of the sun, quickly reversed course, and then headed back from where it came. Time to call a congressional hearing? See for yourself. And they have a video here. In fact, this was no UFO. It was a weird comet named 322P. Every 3.9 years, it buzzes the sun, making such a tight turn inside the orbit of Mercury that it looks like something is breaking the laws of physics. The fact that the comet has no tail, not even when it is being blasted by maximum solar heat, adds to its vibe of mystery. It is a very interesting object, says Carl Betams of the U.S. Naval Research Lab's Solar and Heliospherics Physics Branch. We are actively studying it, trying to learn what it is. Comet 322P has been discovered in SOHO coronagraph images at least 3 times before, in 1999, 2003, and 2007. Eventually, astronomers realized all 3 were the same object. Over the years, SOHO has found more than 4,500 comets diving into the sun and disintegrating. This was SOHO's first discovery of a periodic comet that routinely survives its close encounters. In 2015, a team of astronomers led by Matthew Knight tracked the comet as it receded from the sun using the Very Large Telescope in Chile and NASA's infrared Spitzer Space Telescope. They were looking for signs of a tail or other outgassing typical of comets. However, 322P remained point-like and inscrutable. It appears inactive in all images, they wrote. Our results suggest that it may be of asteroidal origin and only active in the SOHO fields of view via processes different from the volatile-driven activity of traditional comets. According to their data, 322P is a dense object, about 1,000 kilograms per cubic meter, measuring 150 to 320 meters in diameter, and it spins every 2.8 hours. It is incredibly tough, losing no detectable mass when it approaches the sun. The researchers speculate that it may be an extinct comet, so thoroughly sun-baked that only an impervious skeleton of rock and metal remains. We still have lots to learn about the small bodies in our solar system, says Betams. 322P is a fabulous example of one such quirky object. How do they know it's not a UFO? Or some kind of spacecraft? Wow. They're like, well, it's obviously just a rock. I mean, we've named it 322P. It's an asteroid.
Yeah,
it's not a UFO. Don't be ridiculous. Current conditions, solar wind speed 398.6 kilometers per second. The density is 3.33 protons per cubic centimeter. That's the bells behind the beer there.
Sorry about that.
Sunspot number is 77. The neutron count is 2.3% below the space age average, or minus 2.3%. And the KP index is 2, which is quiet. 24-hour max is 2.67, which is also quiet. And that is your Space Weather News for the week for the first time in a month.
There we go. Now you guys know what's going on again.
Yeah. Now you know what's going on in space. You got to know what's going on in space.
You got to know what's going on in space. All right, I got a couple stories.
Bringing back the stories.
Yeah, no, I've been slacking on the stories, folks.
I'm listening to the UFO series right now, everyone. Catching up, doing my homework. And Kyle used to do stories like all the time back in the day during the UFO series.
Yeah, I know. All right, well, I'm not going to do this story first. Let's do this other one first. Okay, this is from phys.org. New ancient ape from Turkey challenges the story of human origins.
Oh, yes.
Sure, many of you saw this.
Yep.
A new fossil ape from an 8.7 million year old site in Turkey is challenging long accepted ideas of human origins and adding weight to the theory that the ancestors of African apes and humans evolved in Europe before migrating to Africa between 9 and 7 million years ago. Analysis of a newly identified ape named Anadaluvius turkey, recovered from the Çorakyeler fossil locality near Çankırı, with the support of the Ministry of Culture and Tourism in Turkey, shows Mediterranean fossil apes are diverse and are a part of the first known radiation of early hominins, the group that includes African apes, chimpanzees, bonobos, and gorillas, humans, and their fossil ancestors. The findings are described in a study published today in Communications, or the day of publication of this story, in communications biology, co-authored by an internal team of researchers. They say our findings further suggest that hominins not only evolved in Western and Central Europe, but spent over 5 million years evolving there and spreading to the Eastern Mediterranean before eventually dispersing into Africa, probably as a consequence of changing environments and diminishing forests, said Begun, the professor in the Department of Anthropology in the Faculty of Arts and Sciences at U of T. The members of this radiation to which Antediluvius belongs are currently only identified in Europe and Anatolia. The conclusion is based on analysis of a significantly well-preserved partial cranium uncovered at the site in 2015, which includes most of the facial structure and the front part of the brain case. The completeness of the fossil allowed us to do a broader and more detailed analysis using many characters and attributes that are coded into a program designed to calculate evolutionary relationships, said Begun. The face is mostly complete after applying mirror imaging. The new part is the forehead, with bone preserved to about the crown of the cranium. Previously described fossils do not have this much of the brain case. The researchers say Antediluvius was about the size of a large male chimpanzee. Very large for a chimp. Well, they say 50 to 60 kilograms, which is actually very large for a chimp, and close to the average size of a female gorilla, which is 75 to 80 kilograms. It lived in a dry forest setting and probably spent a great deal of time on the ground. We have no limb bones, but judging from its jaws and teeth, the animals found alongside it, and the geological indicators of the environment, Antediluvius probably lived in relatively open conditions, unlike the forest settings of living great apes, said Sevim Errol. More like what we think of the environments of early humans in Africa were like. The powerful jaws and large, thickly enameled teeth suggest a diet including hard or tough food items from terrestrial sources such as roots and rhizomes. The animals that lived with Antediluvius are those commonly associated with African grasslands and dry forests today, such as giraffes, warthogs, rhinos, diverse antelopes, zebras, elephants. Skip a bit, brother. Research shows that the ecological community appears to have dispersed into Africa from the eastern Mediterranean sometime after about 8 million years ago. The founding of modern African open country fauna from the eastern Mediterranean has long been known, and now we can add to the list of entrants the ancestors of the African apes and humans, said Sevim. The findings establish Antediluvius turcae as a branch of the part of the evolutionary tree that gave rise to chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, and humans. Although African apes today are only known from Africa, as are the earliest known humans, the study's authors, which also include colleagues at Ege University and Pamukkale University in Turkey, and the Naturalis Biodiversity Center in the Netherlands, conclude that the ancestors of both came from Europe and the Eastern Mediterranean. Antediluvius and other fossil apes from nearby Greece and Bulgaria form a group that comes closest in many details of anatomy and ecology to the earliest known hominins or humans. The new fossils are the best preserved specimens of this group of early hominins and provides the strongest evidence to date that the group originated in Europe and later dispersed to Africa. The study's detailed analysis also reveals that the Balkan and Anatolian apes evolved from ancestors in Western and Central Europe. With its more comprehensive data, the research provides evidence that these other apes were also hominins and means that it is more likely that the whole group evolved and diversified in Europe rather than the alternative scenario in which separate branches of apes earlier moved independently into Europe from Africa over the course of several million years and then went extinct without issue. There is no evidence of the latter, though it remains a favorite proposal among those who do not accept a European origin hypothesis, said Begun. These findings contrast with the long-held view that African apes and humans evolved exclusively in Africa. While the remains of early hominins are abundant in Europe and Anatolia, they are completely absent from Africa until the first hominin appeared there about 7 million years ago. This new evidence supports the hypothesis that hominins originated in Europe and dispersed into Africa, along with many other mammals, between 9 and 7 million years ago, though it does not definitively prove it. For that, we need to find more fossils from Europe and Africa between 8 and 7 million years old to establish a definitive connection between the two groups.
So what do you think?
Well, I don't know why this is the whole out of Africa thing.
Yeah.
And it's strongly debated. There's a big group. I guess the standard model is very resistant to the idea that it's possible that earliest human ancestors came from Europe, but it's looking promising that could be the case.
Or if you just go like with hidden history, anatomically modern humans have been around for a long time.
Yeah. What was the oldest one? I thought it was like only 2 or 4 million years old.
Yeah, but there were, you're right, bones. But there were artifacts
Ah, yes.
that appear to match like stuff that you would expect from humans that are in really old stuff, 50 million years. So. But that goes along with his, I guess, what would you think of it as more like an Eastern belief that humans have basically been part of the earth since the beginning.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I just,
Yeah,
hey,
I don't know, but it's
I
also
don't
like
know.
Chandra, right? Chandra Wickramasinghe says that life is like fundamental to the universe. It has been, right? And so I think this is the same idea that life is fundamental to the universe, and that humans themselves, this intelligent version of life, has been fundamental to Earth. That's his concept.
I love the idea that the information needed to create a species has been perhaps floating around in the universe for billions of years, or maybe is something about that is fundamental to the origin of the universe. This is kind of Chandra's bit, but
the information required to create what a species, or like an intelligent
any form
species?
of life,
Any
like,
form of life.
Yeah.
Okay,
So in other words, like, because we have this. I wish the watcher was here, but this percentage of DNA they called junk DNA for a while, and all this. That's like, but you can find that we are connected to all these other life forms in portions of our DNA match. The code matches.
Yeah.
So the idea that there's like a source code
Yeah.
that has all of the possible or like all of the information there to build whatever form of life needs to be built in order to survive in a specific environment on a planet somewhere. Like, that is an awesome idea. And that information may have been at the beginning of the universe.
Yeah.
Whether
a
it
seed
was
code.
Yeah. Now, whether it was a
Okay.
human form or not, it's like, well, what is the human form? Is the human form the source code for the human? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like a plan, like a design versus like you design a building and then you actually build it, and you can tell like, well, here's the design. It is not the actual building.
Right.
But you could say that, yes, this design existed years before this building, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the same idea.
I see what you're saying.
That and then, you could kind of get biblical about it, that man or an animal or any life form is built in that image.
Yeah.
It would be the same as like the design is the image in which all life is built upon.
Yeah. Even though like, but yes, because one of the things you also see is like environmental expression, right? There's
for sure.
Yeah. Like the whole thing with space genes turning on when you go into space, right? There's like all this code in there that's dormant until you get into this.
I want to punch you in the space.
That's cool.
Yeah,
like
the space genes is a standing show joke. It's like, you go into space and you activate your space genes.
Yeah, but
That's cool. I
but
like
that
that.
if we, let's say, like, you lived in an environment that had deafening sound all the time, then it would change our ears. Like, our ears would adapt over time, and like, so that variability is like built into the code.
Yes, That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
Or
it's like
if
you
it was
take
a very dim environment, our eyes would get bigger or have better receptibility to lower
so
light.
you take the code, you take the history of expression of the code, in other words, the past of the life form, plus the environment that it's in, and then you can maybe, if you can read the code, determine the form that it will take. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a big maybe.
cool.
Because I mean, like you have things like bilateral symmetry in humans and other mammals, which you don't necessarily have all throughout the animal world. But why does that kind of expression take place? Is it because once you reach a certain size, you need symmetrical things to take place, like you need structurally, right? All that would be in the code. So that it could express all the way from like single-celled organisms all the way up to massive things
But
like
doesn't
mammoths
the golden
and
ratio
dinosaurs.
have the symmetry going? Don't the plants go in the spiral? And
Yeah, that's a totally different kind.
That's
That's not.
different.
That's a totally different kind of symmetry.
Okay.
But yes, symmetry probably is expressed in the code. Symmetry
Yeah.
of one form or another, right?
Yeah. And there's all I don't know.
Until you get to like an amoeba, and it's not symmetrical, unless you think of it in terms of how it reproduces. Then it does a sort of symmetry thing when it, splits into two.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's not a symmetrical object.
Okay.
But then you have something like a cephalopod or an octopus or whatever, and they're almost as malleable as you think an amoeba would be, but they have symmetry,
Yeah.
right? But it's not bilateral symmetry. I mean, not just that. It is.
Yeah.
You can cut them in half and get a bilateral symmetry across the eyes,
Yeah.
but they also have, I don't know what it's called, a symmetry around as well.
But see, we're not perfectly like it's interesting when you look at our organs. Like when you look in the inside, we're
That's
not
true.
bilaterally symmetrical. Exactly.
No,
There's like
yeah.
deviations from.
There's deviations, yeah.
It's cool.
Why is the pump off to one side?
I don't know.
Who did that?
There must be
The
a
bellows
reason.
are symmetrical, but the pump's off to one side.
know.
Like, who set this up?
I know. Oh, the inlet and outlet ports were over there.
We have some serious business going
Yes,
on
we've
over
got
here.
some donations.
You see this finger? Serious.
I've got one more story, but let's do these. Let's do these donations. We have a big serious finger.
Right there. That's okay.
I'll tell you when. Whoop, whoop, there it is.
Chuck, 1999. Bow, 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 bow. Thanks for reading space weather news before I fall asleep. Oh, that's.
Yeah,
You're
'cause
welcome, Chuck.
We read it in the second segment. It's not third segment's when you pass out, Chuck. He might be asleep already.
Oh,
It's the second
Come
hour.
on, where does he live? It's 9:00.
Yeah, he's an old man.
Uncle Chuck,
He's a tired,
we love you, brother.
old, grumpy man.
This is a
it's
fantastic beer.
Chuck is like this is what that's my goal, to become a tired, grumpy old man like Chuck. That's my goal.
We love
That does
Chuck.
cool experiments.
That's right.
And, gives
Calls
you
everybody around him a
yeah,
fucking dumbass.
gives you shit for not knowing what you're talking about, which is exactly right.
The other thing is he gave a translation of my tablet.
no, but I'm going to translate mine. He knows you won't translate
Okay, yeah,
yours.
he knows I won't
Where's
do
the
it.
translation?
It was up above. He said it basically says thanks for all you
everything
do
you
from
do."
Oanis. Yeah,
From Alanis, which is his
Aw.
handle in the Discord.
that's right.
Thank you so much, Chuck. And then Luke Miller, holy crap, a whopping $216.
Thank
Wow.
you so much.
I know what you're doing there. 216.
This is what the big
Yeah, yeah.
finger.
Best damn podcast out there. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
all the work you put in to make the show. Luke from, what is that, Indiana? I have no
Mammoth
idea.
murderer.
Mammoth murderer.
In the Discord.
Somebody
Making burgers.
Somebody believes in the overkill hypothesis. You're gonna have to talk to this guy.
216
Overkill has a hypothesis now. It's
No, no,
not
no.
just-
stitches on a fastball, Luke.
Oh, the overkill hypothesis is the anthropogenic destruction of all the megafauna.
Not overkill like Marty.
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Luke.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Executive
Really
producer
appreciate
of
that.
this live show,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh, boys are back in town. The executive producer.
There's Luke Caverns. Look at that. Who's the dude with no hair on the left?
He's model 2.0. We traded him out.
Bro, I'm getting ready for the jungle. Like, come on.
Yeah, you
can't
can't
go in
have
the, I
gun-
can't have
long
tentacles in the jungle. I'm getting caught up in like some tentacle grabbing vine or something, and I get stuck.
Yep.
Get hung up in a tree. Nah,
Yeah.
can't be doing that. Indiana Jones never had a long hair.
Oh.
Oh, Ed Food text you later, 5185. Associate executive producer of the show. He says,
Hey.
Kyle, this is for not telling me the Deos lyrics. Got the vinyl, had the lyrics for Deos that night.
Hey.
Oh, you just gave it away. So cool. Hi to all the Snake Force peeps and you three legends also. Peace from Melbourne. I'm curious what the poem was.
Thank you.
Ed Fu? Anyway. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. Did he just give away the secret? Is that what happened?
Yeah, tell us.
No.
Or no. Just
take it easy.
Just don't tell us.
No, he already said it.
I don't know, but okay. That's fine. Good on you, Ed Fu.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good on you, buddy.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I'm
I think
just
Kyle's
like you don't
blushing.
understand like how happy I am right now
Oh
about
my
that.
gosh.
Okay,
Warm and fuzzies.
I got one more story, perhaps. I don't know how much time we have, but I'll just do it.
I did flip.
Yeah,
that.
well, it's a little late, but global team of researchers, and I know we never talked about this, but
Oh.
Russ and I talked about this.
Wait a second.
Oh.
He did send me the translation.
Oh, he said, is this definitely mine?
Yeah. Well, he said he didn't know which one we would pick. So I got the thanks for everything. You got the GFY.
Yes, dude. I translated it before it was.
Yeah.
I even looked. I was like,
Yeah,
could tell.
it basically says GFY back
Yeah.
of the bus. Yeah.
my man. That's awesome.
I love it how things work out in the queue.
Okay, a global team of researchers debunks claim of room temperature superconductor. So if you guys weren't following this,
Oh, yeah.
the
LK99 or whatever.
LK99
Yeah.
material created by a privately funded laboratory in South Korea was claimed to possibly be a room temperature superconductor. So I'll read from the story here. Superconductive materials convey an electric charge with virtually no loss of energy, and they create very powerful magnetic fields. Both of those features would be enormously useful, potentially making electronic devices much smaller, lighter, and faster than they already are, or making it possible to build commercially viable machines that depend on strong magnetic fields, maybe like for cold fusion. Superconductors have been created in laboratory conditions before, but they require extremely cold temperatures and high pressures, which robs them of commercial applications. So let's see. This South Korean team sought to demonstrate their discovery with the most visually spectacular application of superconductive material, levitating a small object with magnetism. The video of the team apparently accomplishing this feat with a small sample of LK99 alloy in room temperature conditions became a viral sensation. Of course, all such claims must be rigorously validated. The South Korean Society of Superconductivity and Cryogenics voiced immediate skepticism, announcing the formation of a blue ribbon academic panel to study the discovery. Research teams around the world began attempting to replicate the LK99 experiment.
I followed some of these people. They were posting their attempts, what they were doing on Twitter, and then they had videos and they were live streaming some of the processes. It was really cool. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah. And this LK99 is a material. It has been being studied since the 90s. And it does have some interesting properties, but according to this story, it's not a superconductor at room temperature. But I'll continue.
There were so many ups and downs. They're like, people were posting, they're like, "Oh, we're so back," and then you're like, "Oh, it's over, it's over, it's over, it's totally over." And then they would read something else, be like, "Oh, we're back, it's back, we're so back." And then, "Oh, nope, it's over, bro, it's over, it's not gonna work." It was hilarious to watch it.
So should I continue?
Yeah, keep going.
So sadly, it appears that LK99 is not superconductive at all. Instead, the material contained impurities that lowered its electrical resistance and allowed it to generate a decently potential magnetic field. Pure LK99, researchers say, is an insulator, not a conductor at all. Nature spoke to researchers who said one of the tells was the way LK99 could be held aloft by a magnet in the famous demonstration video. But it was not truly levitating, because if it was, the material could have been flipped and spun around with ease, like those flying skateboards everyone has been daydreaming about.
Yes, hoverboards.
A decent conventional magnet can produce the results seen in the famous LK99 demonstration video, but a superconductor would have made that demo chip fly. Some researchers also perked up when they saw the temperature data from the South Korean experiment, because the most powerful magnetic effects were observed at precisely 104.8 degrees centigrade, which happens to be the temperature at which copper sulfide becomes strongly magnetic. That kind of magnetism is nice, but not revolutionary. Skeptics noted that after being heated to over 104 C, the LK99 sample displayed a strong drop in electrical resistance as it cooled, which might have misled the Quantum Energy Research Center team to believe they had a superconductor on their hands. Any of this making sense?
Yep.
The scientists who debunked the LK99 superconductor found their detective work invigorating. This is cool. And drew some valuable lessons from the entire affair. Forbes chronicled engineer Andrew McCallop becoming an overnight sensation on the Twitch stream platform, whose top performers are usually video game players.
Yeah.
As a rapt audience of thousands watched him trying to recreate the LK99 experiment. See, this is cool.
It was hilarious to watch him too. And he's like, okay, the stream's over. Sorry, the engineer needed his laptop back, right? It was like stuff like they were just. He's posting about it on Twitter, and then people were like, "Bro, please stream the when you're putting it in the Forge." And he like steals somebody's laptop, sets up Twitch, starts streaming it, and then like all of these people are watching, and then
See,
he's like, "We had to end the stream. The engineer needed his laptop back."
Look, if this would become more of a thing with like people doing experiments, or in some cases like with scientific institutions doing research, dude.
Yeah,
people love this stuff.
Yes, and that was one of the best things about it. Even though in the end, they said that the superconducting thing is not real. It got a lot of people very interested in all these processes, and then there was lots of science discussed, and people learned a lot of things. Like I did.
That's good.
Yeah, and watching these guys who were like part of, they make things for NASA. They got a satellite in the air. He kept saying, "I got to go back to work. I got a satellite up in the sky," right? Watching these guys, these professionals with their equipment, figuring out how to do this process. It was really cool.
Yeah, so I'll read this little bit here. The scientists who debunked LK99 praised its creators for doing a good job of documenting their experiment and making a serious claim that, unfortunately, did not quite pan out.
Yeah.
Quote, some guys made a discovery. They clearly didn't understand completely what it was, but they took an optimistic view and then presented a good lock of evidence so that people could look at it and judge for themselves. It's not bullshit. It's not obfuscation. Chief materialist scientist David Larbalestier sorry, David, of the National High Magnetic Field Laboratory told Forbes. A few physicists did grumble that the instructions for mixing LK99 could have been a little clearer, and the experiment could have been verified more carefully by the original researchers before they raised hopes around the world. No. Yeah, but this is cool.
Yeah.
So, the grumblers were like, a lot of the stuff early on was rushed, and statements from all sides were unchecked. The social media memes, etc., have been completely detrimental to progress in this field, in my view.
Yeah, I know.
Princeton University condensed matter theorist Andrew Brenneberg told Physics World on Tuesday. I hope we never do science like this again. Bernavig said. So, we love science being done like this.
Yeah.
And I do want to say real quick, briefly, about science being done like this. Science is being done like this right now concerning Bindle's technology.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
There are some tests going on, and some serious scientists that are like working on specifically the retrofit combustion engine thing the apparatus that Bindle invented, and they have been doing tests. And I know George Howard is heavily involved.
Yep.
And they're getting results now. Whether or not those results are telling us that there's going to be some massive efficiency increase in engines is not 100% yet, but some of the claims that Bindle has made have been confirmed by multiple guys using instruments to check the exhaust on the engines and the lack of CO2 coming out. So at least it is showing that his technology is scrubbing some of the, unwanted gases coming out of the engine.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, how long will it do that? How many hours of operation can it withhold or hold up is not fully known yet. But of course, they have been monitoring this and doing this for weeks now. Other tests were checked, like they ended up getting they were using generators, just a gasoline generator. And for a while they were just running the generator and measuring the exhaust. And then they got another generator without the technology. And then they started carefully measuring the amount of gas they put into each one. And it looks like the one with the technology running ran for like 25%. It's like one and a quarter times the length of time that the other one ran. Now, more experiments need to be done on that. Like they need to switch them, and you just never know. There could be other reasons. They're doing load tests. That was another thing.
We asked about load tests and efficiency. Yeah.
So they got these big lights that draw a certain amount of power, and they're putting the generators under a load, and they're finding that certain things start to happen with the apparatus at certain loads, where it changes or perhaps stops working. So the fact is that this is what we've all been waiting for. I think, if this has been, I'm sure this has been going on for a long time, but these guys are doing this work, and they're,
this is what people needed to see.
This is what needs to happen.
This is all public. Everything that you're talking.
Well, they did something with HowTube at the Tesla conference, but now this stuff they're doing with George is like, it's not. I don't know if it's public or not.
No, but I think they are planning to.
How do you have access?
They're planning.
George is sending us information. Okay. We're in a group.
I'm sure they're planning to release this stuff publicly at some point.
Yeah.
And one of the guys is actually writing a report. And he's working on the report, and he's going to be updating the report weekly, I think, as these tests go on. So this is really good.
That's good.
I have a printout of it here of the current report. I'm not actually going to read it because we could actually dedicate like a bit more time than we're going to do today to this report that this guy did. So. Okay. Yeah, we're up on time. I just wanted to mention it.
Yeah, and yes, mention it.
Thanks to the people doing this and George.
Yeah, for giving us something.
This is what
for.
And this is like
we wanted.
This is an independent. This is independent testing. This isn't like Bendel doing it in front of a bunch of people. This is like a bunch of people working on it. Bendel's there, but it seems less likely for this to be a scam at this point. This is not affiliated people working on this. It's just like a bunch of people with George. And they're testing it out in as many ways as they can figure.
Yeah, they're legit, and some of them are very well cited.
Yeah,
they're actually starting to measure because there's water involved in this apparatus, and so there's a guy there that's now measuring. He's doing all kinds of measurements on the water after it's been running in the engine for a certain amount of time, and so it's going in the right direction.
Yeah,
this is exactly what needed to happen. That's exciting.
Hey, Lauren the man. Thank you. $5.
Straight.
Hey, girl.
Hey, bro.
All right, let's take a break.
We got to take a break.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what's playing on the old jukebox.
Oh.
We'll be right back, folks.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Listener communications episode, straight from the cube, and I think we're finally going to get to some listener communications. Is that the stories we had?
That's the stories I had. Yeah.
Okay.
Not quite done with this beer yet. No. You're gonna have some more.
The beer that keeps on giving, Chuck.
Good night, Chuck.
Yeah. He's still awake.
Good
I didn't even know
night,
what that
Chuck.
was all about. I just saw him say something a little minute ago.
We just, it's the new thing. We got to say goodnight in the second hour.
It's way past the second hour at this point.
I bet you will see him pop up.
Show's
again.
almost over, guys. Look at that. 1 hour and 40 minutes.
What are you talking about? This is third segment.
This is from Butt Flapperheimer von Schland. It's called Greetings from Schland.
Okay.
Good morning, honorable Snake Bros. I know you guys are busy with travel and farming and family and life in general, and sometimes it seems like I have been waiting for the next episode for eons. Instead of getting my butt flap in a ringer, I have developed an internet hack. There are numerous random number generators online. When I am homesick for the bros, I find a random generator, insert lower limit 2 and upper limit 290, and I listen to the episode corresponding to the resulting random number.
That is cool.
It never disappoints. Upper limit will need adjusting, lower limit never. Snakes! Graf Butt Flapperheimer von Schland.
Genius.
That's a great idea.
I love that.
That's cool.
Okay, this is from Tony from Sweden. It's called The Moon Will Kill Us. Hello there. Love your podcasts. You two brighten up my workday, but I dread the day I've listened to all the episodes. I love when I learn different things from different fields and then see new connections, but not so this time. I saw a video about the moon slowly moving away from the Earth, and then another video about gravitational lensing, and a third about solar eclipses. And then it struck me that one day, the dark area of a solar eclipse will have shrunk to a tiny dot, and with just a little bit of gravitational lensing around the moon, it will instead be a glowing hot dot moving across the Earth. Run for your life! Ah! I think the ants must have planned this. Snakes! Tony from Sweden. The ants. Yeah, you don't want gravitational lensing to eclipse the sun between us and the Earth.
That would be really bad.
Yeah, that would
What
be bad.
is gravitational lensing for those of us out there that aren't just right there with you?
Well, babe, gravity bends space-time, so light just goes around.
Okay.
Duh.
That's all I need to know. Thank you, babe. We can move on. Somebody just throw out a definition.
Go ahead, Russ.
I mean, you're basically right. But yeah, you can think of it as like a lens of glass or any other transparent material will change the way light moves through it.
Okay.
So like what he's talking about, like the ants planned it because some
Yeah.
kids
Yeah.
that are really mean may
Yeah.
use a magnifying glass to focus the sun's light onto the ant bed and heat it up.
But you were saying gravitational lensing.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the same way that the glass will bend the light, gravity does something.
So
They think that it bends space and makes the light bend.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
like
I see.
the lens is a different medium,
Okay.
right? So when the light enters the medium at an angle, because it's got a wave front, it starts to travel at a different speed when it enters that medium.
Okay.
And so if it's entering at any angle rather than just straight over top, this part of it, the first part that enters it speeds up, and then so the rest of the waveform that's entering that curve speeds up and it goes in a different direction than it was going before.
Oh.
So with gravity, it's kind of the same way. If there's a really strong
So
gravitational
it's
field,
like speeding up through the curve, like me. That's what I do when I.
is it speeding up?
she's-
Maybe
yeah.
it's speeding up.
So when women are driving,
That's kind of what you were saying.
That's it. Yes. So you're light and you're driving towards a star.
And I need to turn. I speed up.
You just haul ass
Okay,
around that curve.
got it.
yeah.
And then you end up going a different direction. So
Yeah.
that if from your position there's another star like behind the sun, because of the lensing, you can actually still see that star because its light is being lensed by
Oh, okay.
it's actually having to
Yeah, so
change
during-
direction because of the gravitational field.
during a solar eclipse where the moon actually passes right in front of the sun, they were able to see little stars right at the edge of where the sun would be because it's blocked out that are actually behind it from our perspective.
Okay. Got it.
So that means the light from that star is coming up, hitting the sun's gravity and going around the sun. And then it looks like it's off to the side when it's actually physically
Just like when you
behind it.
when you stick your hand down in water and you're looking at it from an angle, it looks like your hand is more flat than it actually is.
Yeah, and your fingers are offset, right?
Yeah.
If you just put your fingers down this far
they're
in the
not
water,
really over there.
right.
It's just because the light is being bent because of the angle.
But you can look. It's great. There's a lot of great pictures online. Just look up gravitational lensing. The thing about it is that most of the lenses we're familiar with are more uniform. Even like a magnifying glass is a uniform lens. It's designed to give you a good magnification.
Yeah.
But you have objects out there like galactic clusters, where it's a bunch of galaxies in a group.
Oh.
And they cause this big lens, but it's if you could see the shape of it, if it was made out of glass, it would be all warped and mottled. So the light comes through it and does very strange things.
Okay, I see.
But what's great is you can see these photographs where there's a galactic cluster, and then you see these smears of light around the edges, which are galaxies that are behind this cluster. And it's the light from that galaxy is coming up, hitting the lensing, and then getting smeared into this. Looks like somebody took a paintbrush and just
Okay.
spread the galaxy out around the outside edge of the cluster.
First Chuck beer down.
All right, hold on. I got to do this.
Oh, you're going to crush this boot? Yeah.
Wow, you did
You
it.
flattened it.
Now it looks more like a Jurassic fossil.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Let's see. This is called A Cloudy Thought from Olaf. Hey, Snake-tastic Brothers et al. Smoked a good one, and I just came to a conclusion on why the progress is so slow regarding Egyptian authorities' willingness to analyze artifacts and structures with high-precision tools and share it with the world. The religious leaders and or regimes are so afraid to let this information become common knowledge because the implications are too great. It tumbles the foundation of the big religions, perhaps except for Buddhism, or at least how those religions are viewed, interpreted, and practiced today. I guess you have already had roughly this thought before, or maybe even a conclusion, but I've thought about this for a few days and it felt like a reasonable explanation. What do you say? Snakes! It could be that, but I don't know. I mean, a lot of the resistance to this doesn't necessarily come from Egypt itself, necessarily, you know. So what religion are we talking about here? A lot of these people are scientists. And they're English, German, and American Egyptologists as well as Egyptian ones. So the resistance is all over the place. But yes, I do think in general the resistance is to a set of beliefs about the past, whether those are religious or scientific or whatever in nature, doesn't matter. People don't like their beliefs to be overturned. They should just figure out that that's actually a lot of fun. To have something you thought was totally true just completely be flipped on its head, that's actually really entertaining.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The more, but you know, the more flippant you are about like ridiculing the people whose ideas are opposed to yours, the harder it is to make the switch. You know,
Yeah.
on a personal level.
Yeah.
Like if you're really passionately just calling people morons and all this kind of stuff for thinking something, and then it becomes evident that it might actually be true,
Yeah.
then it's like,
Then you got a big L to take.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would assume, I've never written a paper, you know, but if you've published, like take the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis situation, for example, like there's this giant fight going. There's all these publications over years and years of groups of scientists going specifically to debunk or disprove the impact hypothesis.
Yeah.
How willing are they going to be, like those specific people, after dedicating a lot of money and time to debunking this, to then just turn around and say, well, I guess they were right.
I don't know. It has happened. Like the whole Brett's thing, you know, the story that Randall likes to tell.
Yeah, I know it has, but
It's just
unlikely. It's
it's
less
unlikely.
likely.
And maybe that was, I don't know. Could you say that was, I don't know, how long ago was that? It wasn't that long ago, was it? But maybe people had more integrity then. I don't know. Maybe there were less day-to-day fights because we didn't have the internet.
Yes.
Could be, yeah,
So
that's
it's like
gotta be.
it's the back and forth was like once every 4 months when somebody published a
Yes.
paper instead of like
You
every
actually
day
are
on Twitter.
probably on it. You probably
Yeah,
just got
that's a
to
really good
something
point.
right there. Yeah.
Right. And so
Yeah,
like
so
the guy was capable of walking into the place and looking at it and being like, how could I have been so wrong? And then them
Yeah.
all saying we're all catastrophists now like
Yeah.
that. You know, they
Yeah.
they still pushed it towards the standard model after that, but still that kind of you know, of conceding the point with grace after all this back and forth and the ridicule and everything is kind of, that speaks to a sort of integrity that
I agree.
in some cases seems to be lacking, at least
Yeah,
in
and
some
I think
arguments.
Okay, so it seems maybe some of the arguments at a certain point in our recent history, it was less. There was not so much of an agenda driven scientific
Yeah.
endeavors, right? Like agenda driven science. But if you go further back in the past, like there definitely was agendas being driven,
Yep.
and some people were like killed because of scientific discoveries. So I think there's like an ebb and flow of how agenda driven is the science. That's pretty much what it is. Like, are you paying somebody for certain results, or are they actually free to do real science?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I agree with that.
yeah, it definitely seems like more recently it's not so free. But
Yeah.
as far as Egyptian artifacts go, I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Well, it does. I mean, after being there twice, it seems like, and this may be a perspective problem, but it seems to me like the largest driver of everything that's happening in Egypt with all the antiquities is about tourism and money, not science. Right?
Yeah,
That's
Mummies.
right.
this is why. Yeah,
So it's like that. This is the thing that they're capitalizing on this enormous.
Draw
Yes,
of the whole
this-
world.
It like represents an enormous amount of wealth, right? And so that's their primary concern almost all the time.
Yeah.
So
can
the
see
science
that.
seems to be almost secondary to all of that. But at the same time, people ask things like, well, why would they be against some kind of astounding discovery in the pyramid of like, you know, there's this hidden chamber, and inside the hidden chamber is like something that is totally outside of the model. I mean, that would just drive more tourism, right?
I agree. Anything that you're going to find, no matter what it is, no matter what narrative it supports, people are still going to come there and pay all this money that it takes to get over there to do those tours.
I think
Right. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it seems like the tourism is what drives all of it.
And I agree.
But what I'm trying to say is, if that was the case, then you would expect there to be, I don't know, you'd expect them to try to, like, okay,
maybe a little bit more sensationalism.
yes, like in other words,
Yeah.
rather than hiding stuff that would really be sensational and is true, you would expect it to be like they're trying to get away with sensationalism that is false.
I
So
see
you
what you're
really
saying.
can't.
I
you-
do see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
you can't really
Yeah.
get away from the possibility that the ARE and Zahiwas, that whole
That's what I'm saying. So
situation
it
is
seems
involved.
like there's something behind all of this,
Okay.
trying to like float in the middle here. Like, we want to keep the draw, we want to keep the tourists coming, but at the same time, their primary purpose is not the tourism money.
Well, maybe there's also an aspect of laziness going on, because if they have to then change it, then it's like, well, we got to go change all the signs on the thing. We got to go redo the deal. When we allow new information, when we find something new and we're going to allow it to change, maybe it's just
Yeah, so there's
part of,
like some
we
kind
don't
of
want to have to change
like
the
a
whole
bureaucratic.
there's a bureaucratic
Yeah.
back pressure. But I mean,
I don't think that would be a driving force.
Yeah.
Like changing signs, but coming from the people who publish papers, they're going to defend them, right? So that's why
Yeah.
what was the famous quote? It's like science advances one funeral at a time.
Yeah.
Because all the guys who wrote all the papers are still alive and still, ruling their territory
yeah.
and defending their position, and then they pass away. And
And
then
it's
the
like,
new
okay,
crowd
we can
comes
do
in
it.
and is like, they start publishing saying like, no, this is wrong, and it. So
Oh, so
I don't know.
We have some years to wait before some things
Yeah,
are going to break
there's
free,
no
I
doubt.
guess.
No doubt.
Okay. This one is a book, and maybe it's going along the same theme here. It's called "Pimpanzees Aren't Allowed to Know the Secrets," and this is Blue Dog from the Discord. Snake Bros, I have no idea where to begin here, so I'll start at the beginning. I need to thank the friend who recommended the podcast to me, and also wish it was 2 years earlier. I'm the kind of person who needs to go from the start of a podcast if I can, and you have graciously allowed that by putting it out from the very second episode. Fortuitously for me, you do recommend listening in this way, as it's a continuation of a conversation and I am catching up fast. I've been listening to all the emails flood in and have wanted to write in just to express my own amazement and gratitude for ages now, but being so far behind in sods, I was concerned about it being irrelevant. Until now. It will probably still be irrelevant, but let me tell you this. I've been listening intently to all the pyramid stuff, the ancient geology and architecture, precision, impossible blocks, and all the things Shamir, and being amazed by all of it because it's a topic I have had little to do with and now get to see it with these eyes. But nothing could have prepared me for the Pimpanzee.
Yes. I agree, bro. I was not prepared for that.
Short backstory required. I am a Pimpanzee and I move at the speed of dark. But seriously, though, I was raised in a strict religion, bordering on a cult. No TV, no radio, and even newspapers were forbidden, all the while spending an exhaustive amount of time in church. It was the King James Bible that we studied, nothing out of the ordinary. I left that when I was about 10 years old and was thrust into a strange new world of freedom. High school came, and so did science. I was hooked. I excelled at biology, and I liked chemistry, but physics would elude me until later. It was around this time that I started to question everything I had been brought up to believe. Once those walls came down and my understanding of science expanded, I relegated the Bible to nothing more than a fairy tale. Sorry, brew pastor. Wait for the end. Long story short, I started a degree in biological science, which included a compulsory unit of physics. I then did a backflip on all of that and joined the army and became a carpenter. My favorite physics term to teach young apprentices is the fulcrum point. The whole point is, and thank you for staying with me, I've been told I take a story around the globe or across the disc, however you identify. These episodes discussing hybridization blew my tiny mind. I'm fortunate enough to understand and follow along with the biology you discuss, but hearing that Pimpanzee episode has probably changed my DNA internally just from thought itself. Then you had the audacity to follow that with Laird Scranton. I'm not actually familiar with his work until this episode, and I guess this is the time to discuss my path to snakes. I started this quite differently to most who love you guys. I was deep into the esoteric with Mysterious Universe, Astonishing Legends, Micah Hanks, and the occasional Joe Rogan, if his guest was interesting to me at the time. You guys didn't pop up until I was recommended, which explains the lag. That being said, your episode with Laird summed up pretty much exactly what got me interested in the esoteric in the first place. Knowledge. What is really going on? To hear of the secret knowledge being kept hidden to protect it is understandable, but also quite frustrating. I am a worthy, selfless seeker of knowledge. How can I apply to this school? His commentary on the lack of spacefaring technology, while everything else has expanded exponentially, was also very eye-opening. What a fantastic interview. Having this come off the back of Pimpanzees has me shook. I'm not allowed to know the secrets. Sad face. In summary, I'm so thankful for you Snake Bros. The new neural pathways in my brain are like leaf cutter ants up a grapevine. The new subjects you have opened me up to is incredible, to the point where I regard the Bible not so much as a fairy tale anymore to be taken literally, but maybe as a reflection of hidden knowledge trying to be conveyed to us. Hashtag Brewpastor. I just want to briefly touch on the work of Dr. Chandra Wickramasinghe. That was also another incredible episode. My only question there is, where is it coming from? I can get on board with panspermia, but where is it originating? I digress. Thank you for all your hard work, and I can't wait to hear what the future sods entail. I can already see UFOs in my future, so I'm very excited to get into this all. Much love and snakes! P.S. You can dox my username for the Discord if you want. It is Blue Dog. Give me a shout when you get this. If you read it on the show, it's going to be a happy surprise in my future.
What's up, Blue Dog? Live.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that is a really cool journey.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And I have to say, you're
asking us the easy questions. I mean, come on. How did it all
the easiest
start?
ones, yeah. you also had your podcast journey. Like I don't have a podcast journey to Snake Bros, obviously, but yours is close to mine. Mysterious Universe, like I listen to those guys a lot. Astonishing Legends, Micah Hanks. I used to listen to Micah Hanks back when before he called it the Micah Hanks Show. What was it called? The Gralian
Report.
The Gralian Report, yeah. Micah Hanks is great. Professional. The dude was born for this, so he's really good. And I do love Mysterious Universe as well. And I also listen to the occasional Joe Rogan when he's got somebody on there that looks interesting, but not all of them.
I've been listening to more and more less interesting guests on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, you've been telling me that.
They're great, actually. That's a great show.
It is. It is a good show.
Oh, but you know what's cool? He interviewed Dr. Brian Keating recently, which we had on the show years ago after he wrote his book, Losing the Nobel Prize. Yeah, he was great. Yeah, and he's really good on Rogan. I haven't finished it yet, but it's good.
And he started his own show as well.
Yeah, I haven't even checked that out. I need to.
Did you pick up anything new so far, as much as you've listened to, that you'd like to share?
Anything new of what?
From Keating.
From
the Joe Rogan episode.
He actually does pretty good, like...
he's doing history of discovery, all that kind of stuff.
He does history of discovery, but also I see on his YouTube channel coming up, he's basically doing... kind of like commentary on current things in science. So he'll, it's cool. Yeah.
I think he was saying on his podcast, he gets like these scientists on there and he has like it's kind of like a 13 questions, like that, where he has this sort of list of questions. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't listened to it, so I couldn't be getting it wrong. But he's interviewing scientists and researchers and stuff. So I need to check it out.
Are we up on a break or?
Yeah. For sure.
And people, if you're interested in the Discord, by the way, the easiest way to get to it is just go to brothersoftheserpent.com, click on the Discord in the list there, and then there's a connect button. That's the easiest way to get to it. So, yeah, we'll take a break.
All right.
Technically, this show's over, but we can do one more segment.
All right. We get a freebie, folks.
I guess we owe
I'm going for 2 hours, dang it.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Brothers of the Serpent podcast, final segment. It's probably not going to be that long. Thanks for the kudos on the song. It's, I can't remember what it's called now. Yeah, I just forgot. Deep Time.
Deep Time, yeah.
Deep
and
Time.
you got a lot of, almost no music has been worked on in the past month, but you have a bunch of cool projects in the works. Like
I did.
A lot of times, folks, when I come down here to do a show, I come in and Kyle's got all the stuff ready or whatever, and he's got a song pulled up that he's been working on, and I sit down and he plays it, and like there's just some great stuff coming out.
I do have a new one. You want to hear it real quick?
Yeah.
It's just a piece of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of bluesy, but I'm working on this.
Rock
first.
it.
Let's see. It's in its infancy, folks.
Oh yeah.
I don't think you've heard it. I think the one day I came home and stayed the night, I like. Bluesy stuff.
Bluesy, hot off the keyboard, folks. You guys are getting a sneak peek.
We got a pretty solid email here.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get to it.
Somebody put Coors Light in my cup while I was gone. What in the world?
It's a fine beer, baby. What's the problem?
I kind of want to ask my big brother to switch me.
Oh, she wants Chuck's
You
beer.
want this beer? All right.
See, folks, that's how a big brother should be right there.
You're breaking my heart now. Just kidding.
He gives me a seat when I come in here. And I can always count on him for getting some good beer.
Did you guys see the Underfit Studio meme that somebody made?
No.
They made all of us tiny. It's a picture, like a screenshot of all of us in here. We're all tiny.
Oh. No, I didn't see
Yeah,
it.
that was great. Some great memes in the Discord,
I'll have
folks.
to
You
go
got to
check
join.
it out.
That's right, Jeff. Complaints about free beer. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Breaking my heart over here.
All right, this one's called episode 66 from John. It says, "Greetings and salutations, snakes. Today I am listening to episode 66, and I figured I'd give you this little family story. So, my grandfather was a meteorologist for the U.S. Navy in the 50s. He was a part of Operation Big Freeze and was stationed in Antarctica. We have pictures of penguins and some other stuff. I will contact my mother to try to get them and see if there's anything cool in them. But to make this long story short, one of the few stories of my grandfather while he was still in the service was my grandmother getting a phone call at 2 a.m. They were both in the Navy, not sure what her MOS was, but she answered, and a man said in a computerized voice, 'Get John.' And my grandfather proceeded to take the call and leave almost immediately, but not before telling my grandmother, 'I told you never to answer the phone after 10 a.m., just get me.' This is just a fun what in the world was he doing type story, and I've attached a few pics of his patches from the Big Freeze. So he's got, his patches from the... So yeah, it's like classic, listen, babe, if the phone rings after 10 a.m., don't answer it. Just come get me.
Wow.
Yes. And he's working in Antarctica in the 50s.
Because it's not a
for the
human
U.S. Navy.
calling.
Yeah. I love those kind of stories.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff too. And if I was that wife, you better believe I'll be picking up that phone.
You're not supposed to pick up the
to
phone.
try to figure out what
No,
I can
you bet
figure
you
out.
don't pick up the phone.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to know.
You were sleeping. It had been a long day, and I just thought I would do half of the heavy lifting of the phone call.
Endless curiosity. Just
Yeah. But this does remind me of our grandfather
Yeah.
a little bit. One day, we'll tell his story on the show. Not yet. But we have a granddad who was doing some interesting stuff also. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Okay, this one is, let's see, from Carl. It's called Clovis First at the species level. Howdy, Snake Bros. Quick question, really. Similar to the Clovis First myopia that kept archaeologists from digging beyond a certain depth in such sites as Galt right here in Texas, is it possible that at least some of the oldest artifacts, megalithic structures, etc., may have been created by a human species related to, but not ours? Recently, Graham Hancock on Flagrant said there's evidence Neanderthals might have taught Homo sapiens sapiens cave painting. Likewise, there is the extraordinary bracelet found in the Altai Mountains in Siberia that's attributed to the Denisovans. Just as the Younger Dryas put us on our back foot, is it possible that other, earlier human species developed advanced cultures, suffered similar catastrophes to the Younger Dryas, and we inherited remnants of their culture, erroneously attributing it to our own ancestors and species? As they say, just a thought. Well, actually, just a question. Thanks, snakes. Carl.
I definitely think so.
Yeah.
And I even wonder, to go even further, does it have to be a hominin species that may have developed advanced cultures?
Right.
Like we've said on the show for many years, the fossil record is a very empty library.
Yeah.
Like, of all of the species that ever existed on the planet, the fossil record is the small, minuscule amount that were in the perfect circumstances to be preserved in rock or even lithified once you go back far enough. The rest of them, they're just gone.
Yeah.
And everything, the landscapes that they lived on are gone. So it's possible that intelligent beings that aren't much like hominins at all, may have survived and lived for thousands of years on the planet, which is just not very much time. You know, maybe their evolutionary development took millions of years, or however the species do develop and diverge.
Yeah.
It may have taken some time. It may have been fairly quick, but they could have become intelligent. They could have developed culture. They could have built things, and it could all be gone and under a layer of sediment that just flattened everything under thousands of feet of lava flows. I mean, there's any number of scenarios. So, but yeah, I definitely think that other hominin species, it's highly likely that they were intelligent, much like us, and maybe even more so in some cases, and had sophisticated cultures and possibly built things and maybe responsible for some of the artifacts that we attribute to Homo sapiens sapiens today.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, you can look at architecture around the world, ancient and new, and no matter what, I don't know, for me, it feels like when you're looking at this architecture, you see things that can make sense. They can be beautiful, they can be astonishing, it can be mundane, but it's all sort of understandable, you know? Like even the cathedrals, you're like, oh my God, this is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Right? But it isn't mind-boggling in terms of technique, but there are some ancient ruins. Some of them are in Egypt. Some of them in Peru. A lot of them don't even, especially in Peru, they don't even qualify as ruins. They're weird carvings in the mountains, right? Where when you look at them, you're just like, what is this? Like, what is this for? Who even thinks of constructing things in this way? And I remember this happened to me before we even started this show, where I started to wonder, especially looking at places like the walls in Sacsayhuaman, some of the whimsical stuff in the mountains in Peru, and some of the things in Egypt, where I'm just thinking, like, what if these weren't Homo sapiens sapiens that built this stuff? You know, and then you start to see some of these ruins in a completely different light. You're like, okay, it was a hominid, but it wasn't us, and that's why it looks so... It's kind of in between the ancient alien theory and the just ancient humans. It's like in between. They have a little bit of what you might think of as an alien quality, but they're not. It's not aliens from space or some other dimension. It's because it was a species that isn't quite human. They were hominids, probably, you know. But it is a really interesting thought.
What about aliens, babe? You think it was
guys, I'm so in it right now. I'm so in it. I'm on, let me see what episode I'm on.
You don't know what episode
Hold
you're
on
on?
a minute.
Oh,
Hold
God.
on
She's
a
been
minute.
going through the ancient or the
225 of the UFO series, part 8.
Oh, wow. She's catching up fast.
part 8 of part 1.
I'm so in it.
Part 9, Part A.
It's so good.
What do you think? You think that they might have been that it could be aliens responsible for some of this ancient weird stuff?
Yeah.
Really?
Absolutely.
Well, that's the other thing is
I
like,
think it's so possible that something from somewhere else came here and did something, and we're looking at it. Total, like, yes.
yeah.
Okay.
It's bound to be something around here that's left over from somebody else that showed up. that
I
just came here.
I do love the
Like, I
idea
could
that
so see that.
I love the idea that some of these really mysterious, vastly megalithic ancient structures that are just really hard to understand are like could be the equivalent of like an alien base camp on a hostile world for them, right? It's like for us, if we landed on some planet, you go out, you put up a couple of tents, you know, you put up a solar panel or whatever. They come down here and they mold stone into these weird shapes, you know, just to stay overnight, and then they leave, right? It's like,
Yeah,
and
just
then you have
like-
the stories like two brothers built it overnight with a bunch of sound, and then they left, right?
Yes, it would be just like if we had the stash with us when we stayed in one of these Airbnbs and he had to fix the shower. Before we
I
were
don't know
there,
if it's like that, but okay.
the shower was in one condition. After we left, the shower was in another condition, right? Because the stash got in there and busted it all open and fixed it. Is that a bad analogy?
So they showed up and fixed the plumbing.
I guess I'm just looking at the change, that something can be the way it is and somebody new can show up and it can change.
I think you're just relating it to something that you experienced.
Maybe
That's what you're
so.
trying to do.
But like let's say that they needed to just stop here overnight, right? They're coming from somewhere else in space,
Yeah.
and they need to just stop here. Earth is an Airbnb.
Uh-huh.
That's where I'm going.
Okay.
Yeah, like relative to space, they may consider it to be.
Just a drop, like an airport.
Space B&B, folks. It's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get that.
So the
URL.
question is, who did they pay for that overnight stay?
And
That's
what
who we
if
gotta
you
talk to.
don't have to pay anybody?
They probably paid in.
I mean,
Lil.
there's
Well,
that.
then it's not an Airbnb. They just camped in the woods.
You're right. You're so right.
Come on. If it's an Airbnb, then somebody owns it.
You're
and now we're
right.
going Charles Fort, right?
Okay, let's
Yeah.
go there.
It's a space B&B.
Space B&B.
That's what it is. Yeah. So sometimes we just see things that they left behind because they just had to stop here and like had to throw out a few dirty diapers.
And I mean, we've said this on the show before too, but people are like, you know, if aliens had all this technology, why would they come here and build stuff out of stone? Well, that's just a perspective problem again.
But you could just say, well, if you have a house, why do you have to go stay in somebody else's house?
Yeah.
Well, because I'm traveling and I'm not gonna
Right.
leave
Well,
my
I guess
house.
the question is why wouldn't they build stuff out of like advanced materials or whatever? And I always just, to me, it just seems like, well, if you show up in an environment that you don't know anything about, okay, or you're learning about it as you show up, right? And so maybe you orbit the Earth a few times and you do some scanning, and you learn some things about it. But there's so much data, right? And then you want to build something, and you want to know that thing you build is going to last in the environment, that it's going to be structurally sound, that there's nothing, there's no weird chemical processes that you don't necessarily pick up on it for. Like maybe you put your super alien plastics out there, and something in the air overnight just turns it into dust, right? How would you find that out without?
Yeah.
So instead, you use local materials. The mountains
Yeah,
are made
no.
out of stone. You're like, okay, those have been there for 100
Yeah,
million years.
that'll
We
work,
know
yeah.
we can build stuff out of that stuff, and it won't fall apart.
I like this. This space B&B idea though. Like, so going on what you're saying, like if let's say you're in a car and you're going on a survival camping trip, you have very limited space to put all of your belongings and things that you need to survive the entire trip. And you're really good at, you've got some really nice tools. So let's say you have a chainsaw and you've got some other tools or whatever.
Yeah.
You can manipulate wood really easily. So you drive along and then you stop somewhere in the woods and you cut a bunch of limbs from nearby trees and you make yourself a little shelter
Yeah.
and you stay the night. And then you get back in the car and you go to the next place. You're using all of the local materials, using your advanced tools.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
future people come along and be like, well, why didn't they build, a steel building
Yeah.
to stay in? It's like, well,
They were just
you
here
weren't
for one
carrying
night,
a
or
whole
what-
bunch of
yeah.
steel.
Yeah.
You didn't have time to mine it and then smelt it and do all the processes that are necessary.
Or it's just simply they weren't there that long.
But or they could ask the question, well, why didn't they build a little structure out of 2x4s and stuff? It's like, well, that's milled wood. Like
Yeah.
you're using this tool. So I'm trying to go to both of your points here.
Yeah.
That like, if you have an advanced tool that can move stone and manipulate it quite easily, then it would make sense to just make a giant structure for your camp for however long you're staying here real quick out of that and then go.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and maybe you have little tiny floating orbs that you can just program. Like, I need a platform made out of local materials, right? And it has enough of an AI. It goes out there.
Wow,
it,
that's so
it brings a
super
giant
high-tech.
cube of stone back, cuts it into a million pieces, and just builds a platform in the most ergonomically way possible. Getting around
wanna
all, and then it
meet-
looks weird, right? It's
Yeah.
made from a computer.
The aliens
You know?
that can come down here and pop that out, I want to meet those people.
Yeah.
I want to know.
I played a great game. It was like an indie game called The Solus Project, and it has a long, complicated story, but the basic idea is you crash land on a remote planet orbiting some other star, and you're trying to find a place for humans to make a colony. But you land there, your ship blows up, and your pod lands, right? And you get out, and it's basically there's already the aliens have been there, okay? And they have brought with them some other race of hominids. Like, they look like ancient humans, and they have long heads. You start finding their skulls, and they have like elongated skulls, right? And the aliens are giant, and they look like demons. So it's like there's all kinds of mythology worked into this, right? The aliens are like actual extremely advanced alien beings with flying saucers and floating technology and stuff, but they look like demons, and they live in volcanoes, right? They literally live in the fire.
This is awesome.
And they've got this hominid slave race that have long heads. Okay. Mm-hmm. But meanwhile, you're going around and you start seeing little pyramids, and you see obelisks made out of the local stone. And then later you see like the aliens they have these little floating pieces of technology, and they're just carrying obelisks through the air. These huge stone obelisks, like sets it down somewhere, right?
Wow.
And you're just like, yeah. That's how it happened.
Yeah.
Now it all makes sense.
Yeah.
That's right.
What's that game called?
The Solus Project. It's a survival game. It's very difficult. Fun, though. A lot of fun.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Now that's one that I would have sat there and watched you play.
Yeah.
Like Uncharted.
Yeah. It was cool.
Do we have any more
Jeff.
above that?
Oh, I don't know. Jeff the curator, $5 says nobody is bringing attention to the fact that Laura is going to be in the future episode 291 of UFO series.
What?
What? This
does
is
that
episode
mean?
295, so
Yeah.
291 is still not in the future.
But
going
what he
on?
means is the episode after the latest UFO series episode,
yeah.
I think.
Oh,
maybe.
is that what's... Oh, he's talking about she's going to be in the next one?
Yeah.
I mean, guys, listen.
Oh, you guys think that's why she's doing all this research?
Well, I just want to say that I'm a little bit of an overachiever. And I feel like I'm doing really good here. But it's taken some time, because the thing I found out is a lot of those UFO episodes are not 2 hours.
No.
Found that
They're
out.
like 3 hours.
Yep.
3.5 hours.
So had to do the old speed everything up deal.
Oh, you're listening to the old 2.5?
Oh,
or 1.5?
man, the music is so interesting at the speed that I'm listening to. There's like no spaces. Like anyway, it's just so I can get through it, because it's so much, you know? So I don't know when I'm coming on to talk about it. I got to get through it, guys. But I'm doing it, and I think about y'all all the time, and I'm just listening, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm listening, and I'm coming in there one day.
So is that one of the, like, when they ask you to job interview, they're like, what are your weaknesses? Do you say, well, I'm an overachiever?
Yeah. I will try to overachieve. So know that about me.
I work way too hard.
Not a good trait.
Yeah, that's a weakness.
Yeah,
for
it's a
sure.
bad deal.
Okay, I think we can wrap it up. That was a good conversation.
How many emails did we get through?
Like 4.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was a great comeback episode. Thank everybody for being patient. Did we have producers? Kyle, I saw you pull up a list.
I think we had one guy write an email that was like worried about us.
We have producers for the live show.
Okay.
and
We can use
we're gonna do that. These are going to be for the recorded shows.
Yeah, so thank everybody for being patient. We took almost a month off. I think it was like almost 4 weeks.
It just had to be that way, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Like, and it's going to be that way from now on. Like, as long as we're involved in this wine business and the harvests are not getting smaller. What? You going to get a big crew next time?
If we have our own winery, it's going to be much different.
Because it's not so much driving. You get to cut all that
Not
driving
so much
off.
driving.
Not so much driving.
And, you know, if I
It'll
can get
still be
if I can get the tools I want,
I don't know.
We're
It's
gonna
still
be-
going to be at least 2 or 3 weeks without a show. It's going to be like, because it's 7 days a week.
this guy.
Yeah.
I think Russ is just trying to be realistic, and
Yeah.
I think Kyle's
I'm
just
trying to be
dream a
overachiever.
little
Yeah.
bit because Kyle.
No, I think we'll be able to do multiple shows
we'll
a week.
see, guys. We'll see. 1 year from now. We'll
Kyle's
see.
like this
We'll
week.
meet
He's
back
like,
here.
can we do a live show this week? I'm like, yeah. And then the next day, Laura's like, he's sick. I'm like, okay. So I tell everybody, no, Kyle's sick.
Yeah.
Kyle's like, God dang it!
I know he lays in bed with a fever, and then he gets mad that we cancel the show, and I'm like, okay, sorry.
I woke up feeling great.
Part of my job is to take care of you.
Ugh. So yeah, thanks to everybody for being patient. And I also want to remind everybody we are going to Montana in the middle of September, so there will be a week there without an episode probably. But then after that, I think we're good to go until Egypt, which is happening in February, right?
And I get to go.
Yeah, Laura's going for half the trip. It's going to be great.
10 days.
But as you all know, when we go to Egypt and also in Montana, there's always content in the Discord.
Yeah.
So when we're on trips, we may not be making regular shows, but we're constantly posting pictures and short videos and everything.
Might
so,
do some live streaming if we have decent connection.
Yeah, if we have decent connection, we can do some live streams. Yeah. I found to my detriment in Egypt that carrying a phone like this for 3 hours through Karnak is really bad for a broken back.
I bet.
So I can't do that anymore.
I bet.
I was hobbling for days after that, so which is lame. It's like all I'm doing is holding a phone. But if you hold something like this for 3 hours,
Yeah.
it hurts a lot. So, okay, I think that's it. Thanks,
We love you guys
yeah,
so much.
We do. We love you.
Snake Force.
Always have.
Always will.
Good night, Adamu.
Get back to work.
I love you the most. I don't know what I'm supposed to be saying, but it doesn't matter.
Snakes!